It's an interstellar military SF showdown. Heinlein, Haldeman, and Scalzi. Heinlein, Starship Troopers, 1959. The Forever War by Joe Haldeman, 1974. Old Man's War by John Scalzi, 2005. So I just finished reading John Scalzi's Old Man's War, and I have some thoughts. If you want to check out my review for Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein, all you have to do is go to the video, The Big Three, Asimov, Clarke, Heinlein, Round 2. Or you can look at my YouTube Shorts book recommendations. Look for Starship Troopers. I've also already reviewed The Forever War by Joe Haldeman. You can find it in the video Two Bob Shaws and Joe Haldeman Enter a Relativistic Bar. Or once again, you can look at YouTube Shorts, book recommendations, and look for The Forever War. The new review today is Old Man's War by John Scalzi. I read this in one day. John Scalzi has friendly prose and page-turning plotting. This novel felt like a mashup between the movie Cocoon, 1985 by Ron Howard, Old People Are Rejuvenated by Aliens, and Starship Troopers, which is acknowledged by John Scalzi at the end of his book. Cocoon? Well, the protagonist in this book, John Perry, is a 75-year-old man who is volunteering for the Colonial Defense Forces, the CDF. 75 years old. He and other senior citizens are preparing to enter basic training. What's up with that? Well, nobody knows for sure, but it is rumored that they are rejuvenated when they go into the army. So they think, do I live out my days just getting older, weaker, and perhaps sicker? Or can I be rejuvenated and perhaps, if I make it through my term of service, have another life? The first quarter of this novel reminds me of the movie Cocoon, wisecracking seniors in an unusual situation. Now, I'm not going to reveal how this rejuvenation works, but it is a key plot point that changes the paradigm for the rest of the novel. The second quarter of the novel is all about training. This reminded me of training in many military movies that have been made, where the drill sergeant is merciless to the recruits. Think Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. The third quarter of the novel places the troops of the Colonial Defense Forces into many different alien fighting situations. We learn more about their technology and tactics. And the fourth quarter of the novel deals with a specific mission which will have impacts on future relationships of all species. John Scalzi's focus is on character. The old recruits are all friendly and lovely senior citizens. Their camaraderie and good spirits form friendships that last through the whole novel. That is, if they don't die in the war. There are plenty of military SF sequences and SF mysteries to be solved. So, how does Old Man's War compare to the previous military SF classics? First off, let's talk about the military training that is the beginning of all three novels. In 1959 Starship Troopers, Robert A. Heinlein took almost half the novel for training. The basis of this training was from World War II or from the Korean War. Definitely a gung-ho kind of style of training. In 1974's The Forever War, Joe Haldeman, who is a vet of Vietnam, brought a sense of reality to the training sequence, as well as the relationships and war sequences. Old Man's War's training sequences brought to mind video games and movies, more stylized. So I found Heinlein and Haldeman's military SF training to feel more authentic, more based in a reality that both men knew. What about the SF military sequences? Surprisingly, there's not a lot of military SF battles occurring in this novel. There's a lot more training and ideological passages. The Forever War did have a number of battles that were key to the plot of the story. But this novel was more than just the training and the battles. It was also about culture shock and what happens when a war ends. There are plenty of entertaining battles in Scalzi's Old Man's War. Once again, for me, it felt like I was watching a movie. Now, if that's the kind of entertainment you're looking for, this one is definitely ahead of the other two in its cinematic quality. So what about some of the themes in these novels? Starship Troopers definitely feels like a World War II film. There is an unquestioning support for the military. There are sequences about juvenile delinquents, corporal punishment, and capital punishment. The Forever War comes out of the Cold War and the Vietnam experience. There's more of a questioning nature to why are we fighting. There's time dilation and culture shock. And then there's the path to making peace with yourself once it's over. In Old Man's War, we take a look at senior citizens and some themes of loss and love and companionship. Then a big plot twist in the rejuvenation affects the rest of the novel. And of course, there's war and the strength of camaraderie. Of these three novels, I would say that John Scalzi's strength is his character development and humor. So, how do I rank these three SF military novels? For me, third place, Starship Troopers. Second place, Old Man's War. And first place, The Forever War. Back to Old Man's War by John Scalzi. Very entertaining, great characters, funny. I give it 8 out of 10. So do you agree with my rating of Old Man's War? What about my ranking of SF military classics? Should there be another novel mentioned in this group? Is there another group of 3 novels that you think I should compare? Be sure to join the conversation in the comments below.